Laurel, I wanted to chat with you about the naming of the Legal Writing Institute. I know that this idea to form the organization came about at a lunch meeting that was held at the AALS conference in Chicago in 1985. I believe you had mentioned that Ralph Brill helped organize this lunch for legal writing professors and that you and Chris Rideout and others attended. And it was at that lunch that you all decided to create an organization to continue the good work that had begun at the 1984 biennial conference, the first biennial that had been held at the University of Puget Sound. So, how did you all settle upon the name Legal Writing Institute? And why did you choose institute instead of another term like association or something of that nature?
That's a great question. So we were at the AALS conference. We made arrangements to a small group of us, about 14 or so, to have lunch together to try to institutionalize the idea we had for a conference. Everybody who attended was really all for creating an organization. And so I believe it was at that meeting we came up with, yes, we would have an organization. And yes, it needed a name. And it seemed like Legal Writing Institute was the first choice of people who were there. I don't remember any kind of debate over it. There were some other legal institutes that were being created at about that time, which I think influenced us. But to be honest, we don't remember exactly how we came up with that name, but it stuck and we like it.
Mhm. So let's fast forward then. We've had the 1984 biennial, which was a huge success. Then we have this idea to develop this organization. Um, you were the person who filed the articles of incorporation for the Legal Writing Institute in April of 1986, officially forming the organization. And at that point, a decision was made to adopt a logo for LWI. And so I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the first logo for LWI, its design, and who came up with it, and how that came about.
In both the first issue of the newsletter and the second one, we put out a call for people who might have ideas for a logo. And we were very, very fortunate that Chris Wren, who he and his wife Jill were associated with Ambrose Publishing,
Mhm.
contacted Ambrose Publishing on the Institute's behalf. And Ambrose Publishing donated the time of one of their designers to come up with that first logo for us. We'd had kind of a different design for the brochure that went out for the 84 conference. It had the kind of old fashioned pen on it. We wanted something a little more modern than the one that had been on the brochure.
Mhm.
And so they came up with it, sent it to us. The board took a look at it, liked it a lot, and we then had to create it for ourselves. And so we took it to the University of Puget Sound, which is now Seattle University, to our print shop and asked them to recreate it. They couldn't come up with the exact color, but they came up with a close color. The color turned out for people to be a pretty important factor in identifying the Institute and having something that would be the Institute's color.